Anti-establishment historians tend to be an unpopular lot, and my own works will undoubtedly serve to reinforce this attitude by those who have published garbage adorned as history. It is my intent to make enemies, to topple their cherished pillars, to silence those charlatans who have sold their fictions off as facts. My mission is to educate those willing to know. I have no doubt I will lock horns with many along the way. The materials that I offer in my books are for those who are unafraid of the dark, who want the truth undiluted, direct. The ancient past, behind the scenes happenings throughout all time periods, censored histories, the academic cover-ups, real facts about race, religion, subversive societies, and even predictive systems of analysis by which future events can be known beforehand or uncovered and explained. Archaix is for the public domain to come to a place where they can receive information that has not been diluted. It has not been censored. You're not going to like some of the things you hear. Some of the many videos are going to tick you off. They're disturbing. The core things that we have been taught since we were introduced into this world have to be peeled back layer by layer by layer for us to fully comprehend the absolute medium of deception that we are totally immersed within. Our world is not what you think it is, but it is a beautiful place. It's all a matter of perception. But where we've been in the past in the collective, as a species, as a race, and where we have traveled in the past up until the present, in our personal lives, has everything to do with where we're going. One who is properly informed is not easily deceived. The fact that so much energy has been expended in covering up the truth about our past can only mean that, though we are blind to it, we must be such a threat to our controllers that burying the past was the only recourse they had in maintaining their power. Or, said another way, we are more than we suppose ourselves to be. Hey, hey, hey. It is so quiet on my property right now. Oh my God. My dogs are smart. They just have a sixth sense for these type of things. Normally there's two others here. People take turns. There's never a time when somebody isn't on my property or across the street, which is also my property. But my dogs, they just know. Because they left to go run errands, I'm in the studio here by myself, and they just had a sixth sense. They were not going to go in the barn. I was going to go put them in the barn. It's comfortable for them in there. They got fans. They got a radio playing for them in the background. My dogs were not having it. I know what it is. They're smart. When they see me go to another building, I got a separate building that's a whole kitchen set up. I fill up the coffee. My dogs, they're on it. They're watching me. They know, because they know no one else is here. They're about to get locked up because I got nobody I can call. Ordinarily, somebody across the street or over here, I can call them on my, I can call them on the walkie-talkie and say, "Hey, can you take care of those dogs? Hey, I think somebody pulled up on their driveway. There's 4 driveways here, so I'm thinking somebody's here in the driveway. There's a stranger here." My dogs watched me. I had to coax them with dog biscuits. They wouldn't even take the normal dog biscuits. I had to walk over to the bin and get the expensive milk bones out. These big old milk bones. So when I got the milk bones, which they only get in the morning, because I don't give them dog food in the morning. But man, they saw those dogs. They saw, you know what? I kind of feel guilty because I broke their trust. But I never give them the milk bones, but in the morning. But man, they saw those milk bones. Big Tank, he's first one. When they see Tank do something, the pit follows, and then the other two. It was over. I got him in the barn. Now, Big Tank, he's not allowed in none of the buildings. That's a huge dog. Anybody who has seen, I know Jamie Robbins, a couple of other people in the chat, they've been to my property and they've seen Tank is not an ordinary Rottweiler. I don't know how he got so big, but he's lived his entire life outside. And you can't even drag him in a building. He's lived his entire life outside. He's a rescue dog. Somebody on my street, I live way out in the country, but somebody further down the street, further down the road over here, moved and left a whole bunch of dog food piled on the ground and a bunch of water. And I went over there and I pulled his chain out of the ground. He's living in a little bitty igloo. His whole body would go inside the igloo and he'd have to shuffle to get his head back out. And that was his house. I rescued Tank and I brought him to my property. He's the reason why I have this fence. Priorly, I didn't have a fence, had no need for a fence. But I went ahead and got a fence because I can't have a dog that size running around the neighborhood. So, and I'm not gonna own a dog that I have to put on a chain. It's just not gonna happen. I'm not gonna do it. So anyway, I can hear them. They're frustrated. I left the windows in the barn open. All right. So anyway, this is another mind bender. This was supposed to be a post on Twitter. It was just supposed to be a post. All I did was pull out the 1902 edition to the Encyclopedia Britannica. Because I'm thinking maybe there's some more information on Apollo that I need to see. So I want to do a post. Here it is, 1902 edition of Apollo, which took me straight to Nemeseus, Dionysus. I cannot believe the rabbit hole I fell into. Because what I'm going to reveal to you today is unknown to us. It's unknown. We just don't know these things. They're hidden in old books. That's why I tell people all the time, this whole 2 stack of books right here you see are all the books I'm going to be mentioning and the page numbers where I got all this data from. It's in all these old books. This is why I get frustrated with people, especially people trying to fact check me, man. I ignore those who fact check me and you don't even have your facts right. 99.9% of the individuals bringing any material to the table today have to use the tools that are available to them. I'm not denigrating them, but if you haven't gone into the old source materials, you don't even know how Google has changed everything. You think you're Googling accurate information, man. That information is tainted, corrupted. It's been spun through so many filters. And then you try to fact check people. It's like, man, I get disgusted when I look at the files. Like, golly, man, I can go through every bit of this, man, just totally disprove it, which wastes my energy. And there's no point. Why would I want to try to prove a negative? So I just ignore them. But the sources are here. Everything in this video you're going to know. Here's the source. Go look for it yourself. I'm going to name you're going to see on the screen every quotation. You're going to see Jason didn't make any of this up. 2,000 years ago, the information I'm conveying to you in this video was known. It was already known. And what this information means to what the first horseman, how you translate the first horseman, what it means, the second horseman, the fiery horseman, now the third horseman, the black one holding scales, the Judeo-Christian interpretations are garbage, and they're intended to be. You're supposed to read that at a surface level because you're basically goyim. The authors of these texts knew you would go with the interpretations of the theologians, of those that hold the doctorates in divinity and your Swedenborg type interpretations that are completely wrong. The book of Revelations is a text from the old mystery traditions. You have to use the interpretations of the mystery schools, and it opens up a whole new meaning. Don't take Jason's word for this. Let's look and see what we found. I feel that, Nelson. I'm proud too. I'm proud to be me. And I would have been proud no wonder, no matter what avatar the oversoul saw fit to bring me into this construct with. Man, this is going to be so deep. And I don't believe I can even get this presentation out under 3 hours. I fooled myself before. It all depends on how fast we go through this. It is so quiet, man. I can hear the squirrels barking. You guys know, some of y'all aren't from the country. You don't know. Squirrels bark. So, yeah, they drive my dogs nuts because I got all kinds of vines and branches that go over my property, and the squirrels love just running over the property and all that. They're not scared of me because I come out and I have squirrel feed and I put it on my feeders, and they see me do it. Squirrels just watch it every morning. They know after the dogs get their milk bones, they're gonna get their squirrel feed, and I put it in the bird feeders because I don't have any birds hanging around that low, but the squirrels don't give a damn. But yeah, squirrels when they're really excited or happy to see you, they bark. Or when they're agitated, they bark. Other times they kind of squeak. But yeah, they do little bark sounds, and you get to know them. It's like, wow, it's almost like they're saying good morning to you because they're not threatened. The squirrel's tail goes low. They're threatened. They're about to bolt. They're about to run. That tail's bushy and high, and high, and they're in front of you, and they got their paw and their little claws up. They're excited to see you. Now, are they excited enough to let me hug them? No, but the squirrels don't have any problem with me here. All right, let me get this. I will be making an appearance on Barry's podcast. He does the Ophis crypto deals. I'll make an appearance on there. I'll be talking about what we're doing with the sports predictions and the personal predictions for Ophis. You guys know everything kind of got behind. I'm all about getting my house in order. And I've only told you guys a little bit over the past couple of weeks. You know, I took some hits, but I'm okay. I'm all right. I just trying to change Archaix and get things right. And I've never lived under the debt system, and I kind of let myself do it. I mean, the whole time I've been out of prison, I've been working and I've been in contracting. And if I didn't have a dollar, I didn't spend it. And then, you know, I've received some windfalls because new income streams, and Archaix has grown up, and it's real easy to get to lose track of what you're doing. So right now I'm in a debt clearing mode. All extra money coming in goes to clear debt because I don't want any more. I don't need it, and I don't want to be a part of that system at all. I never have been before, and I don't want to be now. So I'm the only one here, guys. I need to see what's going on. Okay. Nothing to do with me. So that's what's going on. I'm in no danger or anything. I'm not living lavishly, and I'm not trying to assume any extra expenditures right now because I'm trying to clear my field, and it needs to be cleared because that's the way I believe that I need to live life. I don't believe in living life owing anybody anything. So we need to go and share screen, get straight into this. Why it is so quiet. I got 5 layers of material on my ceiling and on all my walls, and I can still hear all these animals. That's how quiet it is in this. I'm on the edge of Sam Houston State National Forest, and I'm only like 3,000 feet from the water, Lake Conroe. All right, sharing my screen. Once I start, we're taking off. This is going to be one. This is going to be one for the books, guys. This is going to be one you're going to want to share. Yeah, this is let me increase that size. Oh yeah, that looks good on the screen, doesn't it? Thank you, Microsoft Word. I PDF this. So I will be providing an absolutely free PDF. You're going to want it. This is over 4,400 words. This is a massive, epic presentation. So, the mysterious book of Revelation was anciently connected to the Sibylline oracles, omens and predictions of the Sibyls linked to the old Greek holy sites of Dodona, Didyma, and Delphi. These are things we've already covered in prior presentations. They just needed to be said here as a reminder. For centuries, the church did not include the Revelation text. I've covered that as well. They thought it was too ancient, too old, and too mysterious to be included in the Bible. The very fact that they did include it is more evidence of my theory that I proposed in a prior video, that the letters to the 7 churches were added to the text. There's a bunch of additions. The Judeo-Christian material can be removed, as I've done in another video, and to show you exactly what the original book of Revelation would have been. It's very easy to see because it's pretty much lines up almost side by side with many prophecy texts from the ancient world, including the Sibylline prophecies. A theme of the Revelation text concerns the release of Apollyon. It is integral to remember this. This is the book of Revelation. And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon. Hebrew lexicons show that Abaddon is the destroyer. Greek lexicons show that Apollyon is the destroyer. The Encyclopedia Britannica 1902, Apollo is the destroyer. Just look up Apollo, page 185, the 1902 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, right here. Apollo is the destroyer. Robert Graves, the White Goddess. This is like 70 years ago. Page 391, Apollo is the destroyer. Now, Graves' undisputed authority on Greek mythology reveals that in the early times of the oracle at Delphi, Apollo was not a sun god, but was regarded as an underworld oracular hero, a figure of oracles in the underworld. That's pretty interesting. Apollo was originally not a sun god. He was in the underworld, where in Revelation we find him in the underworld, Apollyon. A figure of oracles. The book of Revelation is oracular. The ancients were well aware of Apollo's frequent changes of divine function. He had originally been a mere demon. What? Apollo was regarded anciently as originally being a mere demon. In classical myths, Charles Gale in 1893 wrote that Apollo's nature was also regarded as cruel and destructive. Here's the book right here. Apollo's nature was regarded as cruel and destructive. In old myths, Apollo was the slayer of Python, and to the people, he was a hero, the same as St. George and the dragon. But this is key to remember in this presentation. In the mysteries, the phrase to slay and slayer of did not mean to kill. The initiates understood that to slay the python meant that Apollo was the servant of Python, for the ancient word slayer was in the mysteries the word priest. This is in a book from 1904, The Worship of the Dead, John Garnier, page 235. St. John and the Dragon. Christians under the Anglican Church regarded this myth as Saint John and the Dragon, but it's really an FU by the evil, wicked church to the common people, because it really meant St. John serves the dragon. Apollo is the servant of the dragon. Just like somebody said right here, the priest of Python. It changes the whole meaning of the Four Horsemen, as I'll show you. It's crazy, guys. It's just so crazy what you find in these old books and what we're so blind to. Apollo became sacred to the Pythian oracle, and the Pythian games are actually in honor of the dragon whom Apollo serves. The Pythian calendar of the Delphic oracle is Apollo's calendar, and by extension, it is the time of the dragon. The oracle at Delphi, where priests and priestesses relayed prophecies from Apollo, was considered the center of the world, the omphalos, the navel of the world. At Delphi, the ancient Pythian games conducted every 8 years was changed to 4 years, like the Olympiads. In 582 BC, the Pythian calendar was changed to the Olympiad model of 4 years, which was begun 194 years earlier in 776 BC. This is in a book called The Mystery of the Oracles, 171. It was from this book that I have done a previous presentation on the theory that the oracles were intelligence agencies. Many of you have saw those presentations. This was year one. When the Pythian calendar changed their calendar over to copy the Olympiads, they chose the year 582 BC, which was year one of a whole new timeline. This was year one after 583 BC darkening of the sun by the phoenix that had been predicted by Thales of Miletus 2 years earlier in 585. Apollo took on a new role as a solar deity only after the sun darkened in 583 BC. Prior to this event that changed the Pythian calendar, Apollo was the god of prophecy, of healing and medicine, and archery. I had to verify that. I had to go through, I have like 9 different editions of encyclopedias all in the 1800s, and I had to go through it and I had to verify, and it is absolute solid fact that Apollo was never a solar deity until after the 583 BC darkening of the sun by the phoenix. This is important because the Four Horsemen are the period of time a certain people are orchestrating events against the rest of the human family because they know their time is short, because something is coming that's going to change the calendar. The phoenix, according to Robert Graves in The White Goddess, was also a calendar beast. This is on page 412. The beginning of Apollo's role as a solar god is directly connected to the phoenix darkening of the sun and connected to the concept of calendars. In the hymn of Pythian Apollo, we find that Apollo took over the Delphic oracle, the Delphic temple, from the older goddess. I've got a presentation on that as well. Apollo did prior to the Olympian gods. Greek culture was matriarchal. It was goddess venerating. So this makes Apollo a usurper, and this is consistent with his origin. The earliest appearance of Apollo can be traced back to the Mycenaean period in Greece, specifically in Linear B tablets, which are dated to around the 13th, 14th century BC. Linear B is a script that was used for writing Mycenaean Greek, the earliest attested form of the Greek language. In these tablets, Apollo is referred to by the name Paeon or Peon in later Greek, which suggests that his worship was already established in the Greek mainland by the late Bronze Age. Remember, back then he was a demon, wasn't even a solar deity. These references are found in the context of religious offerings and rituals, indicating that Apollo was a part of the Mycenaean pantheon and had a cult following. This places Apollo far back into the time of Poseidon worship. Horses are associated to Poseidon, the god of the sea, a deity worshipped by ancient Mycenae. In Poseidon worship, the horse was a sacrifice cast into the sea. In Revelation 17:15, we read, "And he saith unto me, The waters which thou sawest, where the horse sitteth, are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues." Origin of the term sea of humanity. Poseidon gave mankind the horse as a gift to help in his labors. But Apollo usurped this gift. The most famous of all the Greek mythological traditions concerning horses involves the education of Chiron, a white centaur, taught by Apollo to master the arts of healing, medicine, science, and archery. Chiron was a half-man, half-white horse, a centaur beloved by the people as a benefactor, a friend to humanity. He would meet a tragic fate, dying by a poisoned arrow. Chiron had mastered archery, and in this way, Apollo turned Poseidon's gift to humanity, the horse, into a symbol for war and death. This is according to the Dictionary of Phrase and Fable, 1902, page 623. Let me drink one real quick. In Bullfinch's mythology, 1867, we find that Apollo was the god of archery. That's page 884. Charles Mills Gale, professor of English language and literature in 1893, wrote the classic myths. In there, we find that Apollo's bow shot arrows of malarial venom, of manifold sickness and death. The bow of Apollo shot venom. This is on page 98. The bow of Apollo was bound with laurel in memory of Daphne. This is in classical myths as well, 27 through 28. She was a nymph who fled from Apollo's advances, her name meaning the bloody one, and containing the same root word found in phoenix. Graves wrote that phoenix is from a Phoenician word meaning bloody. This is in The White Goddess, page 190. She was turned into a laurel tree to escape Apollo. The laurel was sacred to Apollo and prophecy, and laurel wreaths were given to the winners at the Olympic Games. The laurel bay leaves contain compounds that have antiseptic, anti-inflammatory, and antimicrobial properties. They've been used in treatments for rheumatism, digestive issues, and respiratory conditions. Remember, Apollo, he may be sinister and destructive, but he's also the god of medicine. Bullfinch's mythology, page 884, reads that Apollo was the god of healing. In the Encyclopedia Britannica 1902, under Apollo, page 185, Apollo was a god of medicine. Robert Graves in The White Goddess, page 476, wrote that Apollo was regarded as the god of science. This knowledge of Apollo was known as Pharmekeia or Pharmacia. Greek for sorcery or the use of drugs, often linked with magic, medicine, and poison. The origin of the word is from a semi-divine naiad, or a naiad, a water nymph named Pharmekeai. She guarded a poisonous spring near the river Ilissus in Athens. This is the origin of Apollo Pharmekeai. Linking Chiron, the centaur with Apollo, medicine, and the horse is the fact that a very old tradition of physicians is the Hippocratic Oath, which begins with, "I swear by Apollo." This is a list of promises that doctors make that they will do no harm. The hippo in the Hippocratic Oath is Greek and it means horse. I'll drink to that. Told you we're going to go deep. We barely scratched the surface right here, guys. We are going to go deep. And I'm probably going to get it all under 3 hours. Coronis was a mortal and a mother of Apollo's son, Asclepius, the god of medicine and medicinal healing. Apollo had Coronis killed, and he cut her unborn child out of her dead body, giving birth to his son Asclepius, who later became the god of medicine. That's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal. We'll find out later. There was also a Coronis with a K who was a god of plagues. We'll get to that. Apollo was the father of one named Coronis, who was a king of Sicily. This is the white goddess, page 52. Asclepius is represented carrying a staff entwined with oracular snakes. That's 2 snakes. The white goddess, page 52. We have representations in ancient Greece of a staff that had a single snake that seems to have come from the Far East during Phoenician times, maybe with the landing of Cadmus. But then we have the Asclepius, which has 2 snakes representing the medical field, but they have the same origin. And you'll know that origin by the end of this video. The Greeks held that Apollo was the same as Dionysus, that they were the same figure. The white goddess, 257. In fact, just as Apollo's wife was Coronis, the wife of Dionysus wore the crown Corona Borealis. Godfrey Higgins in 1836, in his epic work, here's half of it here, the other half's down there. There was no data from the other half, but it's 2 huge books. Here's book 1 right here. Godfrey Higgins, Anacalypsis, wrote that Horace asserted, as an old Roman writer, Horace asserted that Apollo and Dionysus were the same deity. Both Apollo and Dionysus were gods of the solar year, white goddess. In Bullfinch's mythology, we learn that Apollo was associated with Helios. Robert Graves wrote that Helios was regarded as the demiurge, and that the Orphics identified Helios as their god, Apollo. Enter Apollo Helios. Both Apollo and Dionysus are said to be the father of Phaethon, who caused the sun to lose its course when the 4-horsed solar chariot lost control. Apollo Helios, the white goddess, page 127 through 128. Just wanted to show you guys, I didn't make that up. The identity of Apollo as Dionysus unlocks more meaning from the mysteries of which the book of Revelation is descended. Dionysus is the god of wine, ivy, and grapes, specifically its intoxication. He is the patron of theater. He is basically the representation of spiritual intoxication. That is a Wiktionary definition. He is the Roman god Bacchus. Apollo Dionysus. The Apollo Dionysus link leads us to a profound revelation as to who Apollo actually is. In Plutarch's Convivial Questions, one of his guests in the story claims to be able to prove that the god of the Jews is actually Dionysus Sabazius. This is in The White Goddess, page 335. In fact, Tacitus, that's Livy. Oh, here's Tacitus claims in his history, he asserts that some maintain that the rites of the Jews were founded in honor of Dionysus. White Goddess, page 335. Valerius Maximus wrote that about the year 139 BC, the praetor of foreigners, which is an office of Rome, named Cornelius Hispalis, expelled from Rome certain Jews who were trying to corrupt Roman morals in a pretended cult of Sabazian Jove. The praetor did not expel them from legitimate worship of this god, but for corrupting it with Jewish insertions. Thank you, Third Space. Thank all of you. Appreciate that. I've been seeing them. I can't break up my spiel. Spiel. Isn't that Jewish? The White Goddess, page 335. So the Roman authorities expelled Jews 21 centuries ago, not because they were worshiping a local god, but because they had taken the name of the local god and put a Jewish spin on it, adding Jewish things, and they were corrupting the morals of local Romans. They didn't like it. The historical fact of this Jewish sect in Rome linking the Sabbath of the Jews to the Roman Dionysus Sabazius is found in Leclerc's Manual of Christian Archaeology, where burials in the cemetery of Praetextatus at Rome. Where burials in the cemetery of Praetextatus at Rome. Evidence suggests the Jews used a false etymology to equate the Roman Sabazius with their Sabaoth, linking Jehovah, Lord of the Sabbath, with Dionysus Sabazius. Sabazius, however you say it. This is in The White Goddess. This is what Robert Graves is conveying, not Jason. I'm not conveying this. Robert Graves has a whole page about this conspiracy in Rome and how they dealt with it. They expelled them. Page 335. The Jewish sect of the Ophites held that Jehovah was a mere demon who had usurped the kingdom of the wise serpent. This is The White Goddess, page 336. That Apollo was considered a demon originally is further supported in that Apollo was called Jehovah. Look at this word. Apollo was called Jehovah. Right here. The White Goddess, page 382. This means that Apollo is the Western exported demon from the burning bush, Yahweh. Apollo the Destroyer is none other than Yahweh. Even Godfrey Higgins in 1836 notes that Voltaire himself claimed that there were some who claimed that Jehovah signifies destroyer. Anacalypsis, page 329. Do you see the full circle of evidence? Apollo the Destroyer, Apollyon the Destroyer, Abaddon the Destroyer, Abaddon the Destroyer, Yahweh the Destroyer, Jehovah the Destroyer. It's all here. So this means that Apollo is the Western exported demon from the burning bush Yahweh. What is being conveyed here is that the Jews realized we have a problem. When we try to convey our religion in these other cultures by using, Jehovah and Yahweh and all that, it doesn't work. We get expelled, we get thrown out. So they came up with something better. They usurped Apollo. Apollo then became basically the code for Yahweh. Listen, guys, this presentation, when we get to Nemesis and the scales and what all this really means, you're going to have to go back and watch my Occultus Mysterium. I know it's over 4 hours, but I'm showing hundreds of pictures from the medieval and Renaissance period of all these alchemical treatises and these woodcuts and paintings and illustrations and engravings. And I show you where the Jewish stuff is hidden in all of them. And when you look at a female holding a wheel, it's going to take on totally different meaning to you now. You're going to see Apollo everywhere in there. You already saw Phoenix. I pointed out all the references to Phoenix and all the hundreds of them. Now you're going to see Apollo everywhere in there. You're going to realize, wow, all of the alchemical treatises from the medieval period, from the Renaissance period, they're all in honor of Apollo. All these. They're all coded for Yahweh. So, because they knew they couldn't promote Yahwism out openly, they usurped the Greek mysteries. And through the cult of Apollo, they used Apollo as a front for Yahweh, hiding its Jewishness. This is all in here. We're going to get deep into it. Dionysus was the barley god. This is in Greek tradition. Dionysus was the barley god. Graves wrote that Jehovah was preeminently a protector of barley. A protector, a guardian of barley. Barley's like way less value than wheat. Barley's like a trash crop compared to wheat. But this has double meaning, as we'll see in the Four Horsemen. Graves wrote that Jehovah was predominantly a protector of barley. The Passover, the Jewish Passover, was a barley harvest. The White Goddess, page 336. Dionysus Sabazius was the original Jehovah of the Passover. The White Goddess, page 336. Plutarch wrote that the rituals of Dionysus and Jehovah correspond closely. Again, the White Goddess, page 336. Jehovah as Lord of the Sabbath, the counting of sevens, is mirrored in Dionysus Sabazius. And the number 7 was important in Apollo worship. Hymns were sung to Apollo every 7 days, just as modern church services and synagogues hold worship services every 7 days. Encyclopedia Britannica 1902 under Apollo, page 185, and The Worship of the Dead, page 239, 1905. Since this is a Microsoft Word document, and I'm going to PDF it again because I have to make a correction for you guys, number 7 were sung. Hymns were sung. Okay. To Apollo. There you go. Made that correction. Godfrey Higgins in 1836 in an Anacalypsis wrote that the IE on the Delphic temple inscription is the same as in the title Apollo Cania, or Yah. the Yah of the Jews, and that Apollo described, Apollo is basically derived, not described, from Apol, or the more ancient Ebol, the god Baal. Anacalypsis, page 589. That should be derived. There is no wiggle room in this connection between Apollo and Yahweh. To the Jew, he is Yahweh. But to disguise Yahweh worship from Western scrutiny, he is acknowledged as exactly one and the same deity. Yahweh is Apollo. Apollo is the demon from the burning bush, having taken on Western garb. As Moses learned from Yahweh on a mountain, so too did the Muses learn from Apollo on a mountain, called Helicon, a word meaning to twist, turn, derived from the Greek word helix. This twist reminds us of the serpents twined around the serpent staff of Moses, a symbol similar to the staff of Asclepius, god of medicine and son of Apollo. It's been about 4 years since I released my original The Great Deceit, Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3, Moses, the God of Murder, the Serpent Code. I can't remember the third one, but there's 3 of them where I go through the Old Testament and I show you, using only the verses of the Old Testament, that Yahweh is a demon, and that even the Levite priesthood admitted to that fact. It's all in the Old Testament. These 3 videos, I really need to redo them because they're 4 years old, very poor audio, but they are data packed. Nothing has changed from the truth that's in those videos, other than the fact that most people forgot they're there and nobody watches them. But they're in my dark scriptures playlist. But in there we find out that it's always been troubling to biblical theologians. It's always been troubling to them that there is a passage in the Old Testament that specifically says that the brazen serpent had been hanging in the temple since the days of Moses, during the reign of Isaiah the prophet in the court of Hezekiah. That has always been a problem, because that's 700 years that the Jewish temple had a serpent on the wall. Yeah, they've never been able to answer for that, but it's right there in the Bible. I show the verses that talk about it. From Moses to Hezekiah is 7 centuries. Isn't that weird? As Moses learned from Yahweh on a mountain, so too did the Muses. Sounds like Moses. The Muses learned from Apollo on a mountain, called Helicon. However, if you take the H's in the old world, you'll find that the Hellenes, the H is an extension of the initial vowel. Look at it. It means you can remove the H. And now what are you confronted with? You're confronted with the ancient Semitic word for God, El, right there, El. El icon. What is an icon? Well, I'm an iconoclastic. I am an iconoclast. Many people have called me an iconoclast. I do not disagree. An iconoclast is an idol smasher. Clast is to smash, to cast down. Icon is a statue, something that we hold in esteem. So we have Helicon, looks to be a word that's basically the image of El, or the statue of El. Right? A mountain called the statue of El. El in the Old Testament was God. So yeah, it's whole thing's just so crazy. Also proving the identity of Apollo as Yahweh is a silver coin dated to the 5th century BC as seen in G.F. Hill's catalog of the Greek coins of Palestine. Found near Gaza, it shows Dionysus on one side and Yahweh, Jehovah, on the other. In numismatics, if you have a single coin found from the ancient world that shows Dionysus on one side in the Greek and Jehovah of the Jews on the other side, your case is proven. They're the same God. It was recognized. You don't put it on a coin if it's not already well known that they are one and the same God. This is from the White Goddess, page 336. The book of Revelation concerns the release of Apollo. That's what the subject matter is. Remember, this is the release of Apollyon is the subject matter of the book of Revelation. The writer of the text wanted the readers to link the Hebrew identity to the Greek identity. It was the intention of the writer for you to make that connection, that Apollyon and Abaddon both mean destroyer, and they're the same individual. The imprisoned deity is the destroyer. His origin is the underworld. He was originally a demon. His nature is cruel and destructive. He is the servant of the dragon, the keeper of the dragon timeline, based off of 4-year periods. His solar career was begun by the phoenix. He is the god of prophecy, the book of Revelations, of medicine, of science, and archery. Through his son Phaethon, he is linked to 4 horses that guide the sun. Apollo is now solar deity. He is a usurper of older powers and meanings of words, with the world as his theater. His origin traced back to Moses, era Mycenae, 14th century BC. He is linked to the white horse of medicine, the Hippocratic oath, to the practice of pharmacia, the serpent entwined staff, the use of medicine, and his symbol is the bow. His arrows deliver death by poison and venom, bringing pestilence and plague. He is connected to Coronis and Coronas, a king, that's his wife, and a king crowned over Sicily. He is the god of spiritual intoxication. Rituals scheduled in 7-day periods are his trademark. Rituals scheduled in the patterns of sevens is the trademark of Apollo. Apollo is the Lord of the Sabbath, admitted by the Jews as being their Yah, Jehovah, and Yahweh. Apollo is Apollyon, the demon from the burning bush. He is Yahweh. Now that we have identified Apollyon, we can see the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The unveiling. Apocalypse means to remove the cover. Unveiling with totally new eyes. I'm going to have to pour me another one. I'm with that one. I'm making great time. I did all that, and my intro was probably 10 minutes. All the talking I did. So I did that in 45 minutes, something like that. We're not even halfway done. You guys think I'm going to sing it. You think I'm going to sing it, but I'm not. All right. The Revelation record was preserved in Greek, originally written in Greek, and its imagery heavily borrows from the Greek myths and beliefs. So I want to say something about this. There's a lot of people new to my channel. You probably don't know this. I have many presentations on setting the record straight from the data that I have found from very old sources. I am not a Googler. I do not like the internet, but I'm going to tell you now, I have presentations that show you the origin of much of the biblical material, where it came from. Knowing this is one of the reasons why I was adamant about trying to call out like Wes Huff to a debate, because he's not qualified. I would mow over him. I would absolutely humble him in a public debate. There is no way he can get around the series of facts that I would elucidate. There's just no way. The historical record is absolute proof that the Bible is a work of fiction. Every element of the biblical material comes from older sources, and those sources have been traced by scholarship. So it's just it's so sad to see some of these guys take this so seriously and dedicate their life to it. I know, because I was one of them. That's where I got a lot of my scriptural knowledge, because I spent so many years immersed into it. But what ultimately made me disbelieve the Bible wasn't the historical record, it was reading the Bible. And that's what my Dark Scriptures playlist is about. But I have many presentations, and one of them that you should watch is the fiction. I don't remember the name of it. I put too many videos out to remember the titles. My mods know, but I have a video that shows you the absolute chain of data that proves that the Jewish calendar is a late fiction. It's not old at all. It's a fiction. So also a bunch of them on the Old Testament. But the reason I entertain this tangent is because I have here the Revelation record was preserved in Greek, originally written in Greek, and its imagery heavily borrows from the Greek myths and beliefs. The reason I need to say this is because we have zero evidence that the Old Testament was ever in Hebrew before it was in Greek. What we have is what scholars have shown, that the Apocrypha has these accounts in there, but they're complete Jewish fabrications. That 70 or 72 Jewish scholars sat down and went through the ancient Hebrew Old Testament, and they created the Septuagint. That is not the case. The Septuagint came before the Hebrew version ever existed. So almost everything you know about the writing of the Old Testament and the development of the New Testament is wrong. So if you're new to my channel and you really want to set the record straight about what the Old and New Testament is, where those materials derive from, what the meanings really are, and what scholarship has absolutely proven about these texts, then you probably want to check out my Dark Scriptures playlist. Also, I have a bad data playlist. A lot of things that people assume to be true. I'm acting as iconoclast, and I'm showing the data sets that they're not true. And that's in my bad data playlist. I did pretty good today. Archaix vets out there and baby phoenixes. You'll know that was my very first tangent. I've been pretty good at reining those in. So, it was the perfect text. What was Revelation? Okay, Revelation record. It was the perfect text to hide a Jewish demon and then publicly played out rituals planned to be acted out to effect the release of this demon onto the human plane. That's what the book of Revelation is. It's a very clever, elaborate series of public rituals, getting the public to play along. That's what it is. Yeah, y'all can hear Tank. I can't shut him up. And I won't shut him up either. If we're all here, Tank's friendly as hell because we're here. But man, I had to peel him off of JR, because JR just walked up on the property. JR seen Tank many times, but when there's nobody here, Tank. That's why I have to have a fence, man. I'm not going to get sued by somebody behind that. Let's see. Oh, I did have somebody walk up on my property the other day. 3 a.m. in the morning. I'm going to address that real quick before I continue. So my alarm goes off because we have anybody who comes to my property can see we have all these cameras set up. And the alarm goes off in the TV, in the corner of my TV, the icon's going, I don't really pay attention to it because we got deer around here too. We got pig and deer, and I don't really pay much attention to it unless the dogs get involved. And then the dogs, just I forgot what it was, man, when I was deep in sleep, and this guy walked onto my property. So he may be in the chat listening right now. I don't know. But this guy walked on my property and was trying to show me some paperwork and all this stuff. And I just looked at him and says, do you know it's 3 a.m. in the morning? Yeah, but he looked at me really bewildered. So, it's 3 a.m. in the morning. And he's like, yeah, man, but this right here is what I wanted to show. And the way he said it told me that maybe I've had some discourse with this guy before because of the way he said that. That was my first thing I noticed. Second thing I noticed was he wasn't very uncomfortable coming through my front gate. And that's really weird. You can't miss all the cameras that are pointed at all my fence and gate. And then I had this huge dog right here, which wasn't acting hostile. And that kind of I was really curious about it, but I wasn't polite. I told the dude to get off my property and he left. It's 3 a.m. in the morning. I don't care. I don't care what your issue is. You ain't got no business coming messing with me at 3 a.m. So I've got pictures of him. I saved the security reels and I didn't think much about it, but at 7 a.m. in the morning, he comes back. 7 a.m. in the morning, this white guy comes right back to my property, and this time I just let him have it. But he stopped me because, guys, I can get aggressive. I mean, especially on my property. All the local law enforcement knows me, and if I got to put my hands on you on my property, I'm going to win that every time. But I didn't get that energy from him that he was looking for some trouble. I didn't see that in him. It's just so bizarre. And he had this paperwork in his hand, so. I said, hey man, I told you hours ago to stay the hell off my property. I don't care who you are. Just go. I don't even care what you're trying to show me. Just go. You've got no business being here. This guy looked at me and he was genuinely hurt and shocked by I guess, just me being aggressive. He said, but you told me to come here. As soon as he said that, I dropped my aggression. I said, bro, you need to leave. You also need to know that whoever you're communicating to, who told you to walk through my gate and told you to walk up here and knock on my deal, almost got you effed off real quick. You're lucky that I was asleep, and you're lucky that dog, which I've never seen this dog let a stranger in this gate, didn't take your leg off. Because as soon as he would attack, the other three would have attacked, and I'd never been able to get 4 dogs off of you. It's never going to happen. They're not going to listen to me when they're in attack mode. It's not. So I said, dude, whoever you're talking to, you know what? You got set up. I got a lot of enemies, and somebody obviously walked you onto my property, and they're pretending to be me. And the look he gave me told me that I was absolutely right. He realized he had been had and that he had come up on my property twice, listening to somebody pretending to be me, walking him up there on my property. Crazy. It's a crazy world, guys, but you know what? You already know. Oversoul got my back. This just happened like 3 or 4 days ago. I kept the security footage and I told everybody in the Archaix team, hey man, you're not gonna believe what happened. This is crazy. It's like the 6th time people walked up on my property. I have footage of almost every one of them, except for the guy that was hanging behind. I got a building on the corner of my property, and it's just a road back there. So there's no activity and there's nothing to do. So I don't have a camera back there, and I don't care about it because my 2 neighbors over here are like straight up. They're gun idiots. They're just trigger happy gun idiots, and they're good old country boys. And they just like, there's only one way in and out my entire area. There's only one way in and out. Once you're in here and you don't belong and you're messing around, it ain't nothing. This is right here. This right here. Whole bunch of them got them. Hey, will you block that back gate, please? It's done. that one entrance to the entire neighborhood gets blocked, and the rest of us go check out who's snooping around the neighborhood. We got an awesome, solid neighborhood here. We're all spread out, but yeah, man, it was absolutely bizarre. 3 o'clock in the morning. That was my second tangent. I'm sorry. Second tangent. All right, let's see. I never gave him a chance to identify himself. I'm not going to lie. Somebody asked me, did he identify? I never gave him a chance. At 3 a.m. in the morning, I kicked him off my property. At 7 a.m. in the morning, I kicked him off again, but that was only after, I realized what was going on, that somebody was doing the identity theft deal and had been corresponding with him. So you guys need to be careful. You need to be careful. You need to know if you're really in communication with me or not, because I'm going to tell you now, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to invite you on my property. So anybody getting an email talking about coming to my property, you're being lied to. It's not me. It's not me. And you might end up in the police station, because local law enforcement is now aware, because I have to cover my ass, guys. You guys have to understand, I'm a scrapper. And if you're on my property, I have every right to be short-tempered. And if I ask you once, you know what I mean, and you don't move around, I'm going to ask you again. And second time around, there's nothing in God's creation that will ever make me guilty for what I'm going to do. If somebody shows up on my front porch and 3 a.m. in the morning, yeah, God, that penitentiary scrapper's coming right back out, and I'm going to call 911, and I'm going to have the paddy wagon take you away, and I'm going to sleep good the rest of the night. It's just the way it is. So yeah, somebody was out to hurt me with that one, because that was intended to hurt me and him. So let's see. All right. So the Revelation record was preserved in Greek, originally written in Greek. Okay, we already got all that. And the whole lie, that's the Apocrypha. The reason it's in the Apocrypha is because scholars have already identified all that as a BS story. It's not even history. The church doesn't even try to pass it off as history. That's why it's in the Apocrypha and not in the body of the biblical materials, because they know it's fake. It's all fake. 70 or 72 Jewish scholars didn't get together. This is the story. They got together at the Alexandrian Library in Egypt, and they took the original Holy Hebrew Old Testament, and they all got their copy, and they rendered it, translated the Hebrew into Greek. And when they were done, it was a miracle of God. Not one of the 70 or 72 scholars, however many were involved, 70 or 72, not one single Hebrew letter or Greek letter was out of place. It was a perfect Greek. It's impossible. The reason it's impossible is not because of human error, but because there are different ways to say the same things when you transliterate. When you take a body of literature in one language to put it into another language, there isn't a single way to translate it. It's the way grammar works. There's no way. This is why we have so many different translations of Beowulf. So many different. We have the Epic of Gilgamesh translated by Zechariah Sitchin, which is crap. Translated by Maureen Gallery Kovacs. I've read that one. I've read the translation of the Epic of Gilgamesh by Samuel Noah Kramer. 2 different translations. I cite both of them in my bibliographies. They have nuances. The nuances doesn't mean one or the other is right or wrong. The nuances are there because there isn't a direct link between Sumerian or the Akkadian cuneiform and the English language. There isn't a direct one. Some words you have great latitude to decide which word in English you want to use for that Sumerian ideogram. That's why the whole story is a total bullshit lie. All right. It was the perfect text to hide a Jewish demon. I already read that, didn't I? It was the perfect text to hide a Jewish demon in the publicly played out rituals planned to be acted out to effect the release of this demon onto the human plane. Now we get to the juicy. Now we get to what you wanted to watch this video about. We just covered the historical, mythological context for which we need to understand the book of Revelation's four horsemen of the apocalypse. Because without that context, we're just going to interpret it the Judeo-Christian way, which is the way we were supposed to by the writers of the book of the book of Revelation, who want us to be deceived. Archaix's interpretive tenet: we must bear in mind this destroyer and demon element in deciphering all passages of that Apollo is connected to. So let's get to the first seal. Revelation's subject matter about the release of Apollyon. The structure of the book of Revelation is patterned in sevens. There are 7 churches, 7 horns, 7 eyes of God, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 kings, 7-headed dragon, 7 thunders, 7 bowls of wrath. Where do we hear about the number 7? And the number 7 is important to who? The book of Revelation is about Apollo. But all the 7s come from the Lord of the Sabbath, Yahweh. Breaking of the seals is on the schedule of the Greek Olympiad calendar. The Olympic ceremonies every 4 years also correspond to presidential elections every 4 years. They're on the same years, exact same years. So the president is merely an office. If you were to look at it metaphorically, we're talking about the who wears the crown. What is a crown? It's a corona. Thank you, Sean Kinsey, and everybody else who donated. I really appreciate it. So, Apollo is the public Greek figure who is actually Apollo Judeaus, or Apollo Yahweh. It just doesn't sound right calling him Apollo Yahweh. Lord of the Sabbath. The first horseman, and I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. You guys have heard this broke down so many times by other people, and you've heard my prior presentations, but you're going to hear new material today. It doesn't change anything priorly heard in Archaix, but it does add some amazing things. Now that I have been able to go through these old books and break down the original meanings as what these prepositional phrases and these word choices actually meant in the mystery schools. Here are the elements: white horse, bow, crown, to conquer. These 4 elements combined point to the 4 horsemen being Apollo. To the first horseman being Apollo. The white horse is imagery of Chiron. The centaur Apollo taught medicine, who in turn taught Apollo's son medicine, Asclepius. The color white is associated to the pharmaceutical industry, and the practice of medicine since ancient times honored the Hippocratic oath. Hippo is horse. The bow in Greek is the word toxon, very close to our modern toxin. And Apollo's arrows were said to spread pestilence, disease, and plagues, and deliver venom. Arrows are a weapon and would be no different than needles. But a deeper meaning emerges when considering that arrows are not mentioned. In antiquity, the arrow from a bow represented both sexual prowess and fertilizing. This is from page 31, a dictionary of symbols, J.E. Serlo. It's right here. One of these books. There it is on the bottom, right there. So, like a euphemism of a man shooting his arrows into his lover. Cupid shot arrows of love, which would result in sexual relations. Therefore, a bow with no arrows is a message of no fertility. Let that sink in for a minute. A Greek image of a man shooting bows with no arrows. A man such as Apollo Pharmekeai. We are actually being conveyed the message that the pharmaceutical industry is attacking the human family with a weapon based of venom that affects human fertility. This is what you have with the first horseman. The crown in Greek is corona. Corona was anciently a god of plagues. I think it's with a K. Apollo's wife was Coronis, and their son was the god of medicine, Asclepius. The eclipse of April 8th, 2024, produced a spectacular corona, a crown around the moon, that millions of Americans observed. It was actually the passing from the first seal to the second seal, the first horseman to the second. Anybody outside, my dog's going to bark at. See if I can blow this up a little bit more. There we go. The first seal was Apollo Pharmekeai, who received a crown from the sun to become Apollo Helios. The reference to conquering is the same as the mysteries term to slay the dragon, meaning the first horseman is serving an agenda concerning Apollo. Remember, to conquer, to slay means you're in service to, or you worship. In this instance, it's showing that the first horseman is in service to the dragon. This is what's going on, in service to an agenda. What is the agenda? It is using the pharmaceutical industry, science and medicine, to attack the human family with a venom that affects human fertility. This is just the beginning, guys. This is just the first seal. This began in 2020, perfectly aligned with the Greek Olympiad calendar, the 4-year breaking of the seals that I've shown you guys a chart on. I'm going to show that chart at the end of this video. The total meaning of the first seal, horseman, is that in 2020 began the agenda by the pharmaceutical servants of Apollo to injure humanity's fertility with a venom-like toxin as the first act in the scheme to release Apollyon from his prison. This is performed as an act of worship of the dragon. Process that for a minute. That's the first seal. That's everything we unpacked with just the first horseman of the apocalypse. see. How's my chat doing? I can't keep up with the chat while I'm doing this presentation. Yep, I swear by Apollos, the Hippocratic Oath, the horse oath. I swear to do no harm. The four horsemen are signs of those with eyes that see. The Judeo-Christian interpretation of the seven seals is deliberately false. To conquer implies that the following horsemen are also incarnations of Apollo. Let's go back and look at that. Remember, the writer thought it was important to mention it twice. Here it is. It's mentioned twice, right here. And I saw, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. The second horseman is the first horseman. He's just doing, it's a different stage of the agenda. The third horseman is the first horseman. It's a different stage of the agenda. The fourth horseman is the first horseman. It's a different stage. We have just looked at the first horseman. This is Apollo Pharmekeai. We now move over to past April 8th eclipse becomes Apollo Helios. Remember, in ancient times, Apollo was first the god of healing. He became the god, the solar deity later. Second seal. Oh, this is a good one too. But it's necessary to get, you've heard the second seal before, but it's necessary to get to the minutia of the second seal, what the Greek is really conveying in order for you to get the full effect of the third seal, the third horseman. Man, I got all kinds of helicopter activity today. It's like the fifth one I've heard go over, and they're low too. I don't know if y'all can hear that. That's a low helicopter. All right, let's go. Let's move. The second seal broke in Revelation 6:3-4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they, that's humanity, should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. Okay. Well, let's break this down. A horse is a delivery mechanism. In this case, the horse is the color of fire in Greek. The English translation of red is not what the Greek conveys. Ordinary color red in Greek is erythros. All you Greek scholars out there, you're going to have to forgive me for not knowing how to pronounce these words. Ordinary color red in Greek is erythros. Strong's Concordance, Greek number 2063, has this as pyros, fiery red. This is a fiery red horse. It's different than red. It's the color of flames. It's got yellow and orange and all that in there. Describes the color of flames. This same Greek word is also found in one other place. Revelation 12:3, concerning the red dragon, the fiery pyros dragon. This is Strong's Greek Concordance 4450. 3 occurrences. Only one in Revelation. Given power means permission is granted to take peace from the earth by these two means, fire and knives. Giving permission implies that ordinarily there is a restraining force protecting humanity that is now suspended as the breaking of the seals progress. The words great sword, they have been combined in English to give an image of a large sword, but the Greek does not convey this. Sword is actually maquera. I think that's pronounced right. Maquera. In Spanish, maquera, machete. Maquera is Strong's 3162. Properly, a slaughter knife, a short sword, or a dagger, mainly used for stabbing. Very important to remember this. An instrument for exacting retribution, vengeance. The effect of the power granted to use knives would be great. Greek megali, or whatever, as in magnitude and over a widespread area. The Greek is not conveying the sword it's not a great sword. It is conveying that the maquera, the knives, are going to have great effect. That's what it is. Here's the original Greek for all you scholars. The full meaning of the second horseman is that peace would be taken from the world by fires, delivered to various areas, attacks against infrastructure, and men killing the people with knives. The idea conveyed is of small arms conflicts over large areas and attacks against infrastructure and communities by knife-wielding assailants. Remember, guys, this was my interpretation. I put this out before the Olympics last year, when all the knife attacks went up by 550% across all white Western nations. And most of the attacks were all conducted by immigrants or people not native to those countries. These statistics have been widely suppressed, but they're easily found. So the implication is that the Judeo-Christian world are the victims because this is conveyed in their prophetic text, the book of Revelation. Since this data had been posted across Archaix a year and a half ago, knife attacks have increased to the point that even Wikipedia had to create a new entry in August 2024. Mass stabbing. When a single individual with a single knife goes and stabs a whole bunch of different people. It's a whole new thing. It's a whole new thing. Attacks against infrastructure and random fires are exponentially increased worldwide in 2024. And in 2025, we started with them. You already know about LA, Los Angeles, Northern San Diego. But there's a deeper meaning. Oh, you know what? Before we even go there, before we go to the deeper meaning, you got to see something else. I'm going to share my screen. You got to see this. Some of you have seen it before. This is the knife angel. This is the knife angel. The knife angel is a 27-foot tall statue in the UK made up of over 100,000 seized knife blades. It is meant to highlight the negative effects of violent behavior, which is BS. They move it from city to city, mostly placed in front of cathedrals after incidents of knife violence. Isn't this weird? Isn't this weird? The UK is where most of the knife attacks were happening during the Olympics. Hell, they made world news multiple times. Look at this. This is the knife angel. And it's the church that's moving it from cathedral to cathedral in cities that become popular from the news from major knifings. That right there would be Apollo Pharmekeai. Yeah, man. Just wanted to show that to you before we go on, because there is a deeper meaning. For those of you unaware, when we talk, I've got prior presentations for you new people where I show that the Statue of Liberty is Apollo. Some of those videos are like 2 years old. Maybe my moderators know what videos they are. I don't know. They can put them. But somewhere in the past, I've got videos that show all the similarities, showing the Statue of Liberty is male. It's not a female. This is Apollo on the left, Statue of Liberty on the right. This is Statue of Liberty. That's a guy. That is not a girl. Statue of Liberty. This is Apollo, an ancient statue of Apollo. It's no different. This is Apollo right here. That means the Statue of Liberty is also Apollo, Staten Island. United States is a kingdom of Apollo. It's the empire of Apollo. Very well hidden from us for a very long time. Okay, so there is a deeper meaning conveyed here as well. The second seal has a deep, just like the first seal had a double meaning, the second seal has a deeper meaning as well. The second horseman is the second phase of a plan initiated in the first. The knife is a stabbing weapon, just as is the arrow. Because the subject is human fertility, the symbolism conveys that the peace taken from the earth is the act of humans delivering the toxon to one another that aids in the going forth conquering and to conquer. Do you understand what's being conveyed here? Each horseman is fulfilling even more of the scheme and agenda of the horse preceding it. What started off as the pharmaceutical companies initiating something, now they're no longer needed. They can be burned. They can be prosecuted, imprisoned. This is what the kingdom of darkness has always done. When the snake slows off its skin, it appears as something else. So now it's time to burn all those like Fauci and everybody who was involved. They're going to get prosecuted. All kinds of things are going to happen to them, and the people are going to love it. As in the bedroom, they're spreading the arrow of Apollo. This is what's being conveyed. The second deeper meaning is a non-physical meaning. It's not the attacks against infrastructure and knifings and all that. No, almost everything in eschatology has two meanings. The deeper meaning here is that the damage done by the arrow from the pharmaceutical companies to the human family is now spreading as the human family knifes each other through sexual contact. That's what's being conveyed here. Remember, the arrow was a sexual fertility symbol. All right. The play on words concerning peace is a theme of the Olympiads. Every 4 years, the Greek states all maintained the Olympic peace. But just as in Pax Romana, this peace may have a double meaning. The peace of Rome was only for Roman citizens. The outlying countries and kingdoms suffered military control. Keep that into consideration. What the seals are conveying, guys, is exactly what you're now seeing in American politics. And by extension, the whole world. I'm telling you now, as I told you 4 years ago in predictions videos, 4-year-old prediction videos, I told you that a time is coming very soon where our economy in the United States is going to take empire status, and it's going to be almost overnight, and we're going to revive the economy. It's going to shock the world, and we're going to be a superpower again. Every bit of that is in my old predictions videos. And I even named Trump in those videos. The only fault that I have is that my predictions videos were released too soon, because there was still 4 years away into the future before any of these things. So I took a lot of slack from a lot of people because nothing ever happened. We had 4 years of Biden. So, but those predictions videos nailed it. Trump was going to be involved in a complete resurrection of the United States in power, and a super economy is on the horizon. This is also what's being conveyed in the unfolding of the seals. You haven't seen the third seal yet, but you will here in a few minutes. But this is what's being conveyed. The Olympiad system, the whole everything is connected to Apollo. And the United States of America is the faux empire of last days, Apollo. This is why 100% of American politics is absolutely controlled, financed, and governed by the Jews. 100%, every bit of it. The last days empire is the United States. And what do empires do? They rule the world. And what is another common denominator of the Olympic peace? Pax Romana. We call it Pax Romana, but you can call it a Pax Americana now. We're already talking about Canada. We're already talking about Greenland. We're already talking about Mexico. Those are our three nearest. We're already talking about expansion. So those 4-year predictions videos also very specifically, I stated 4 years ago that the reason the United States will almost overnight turn into a financial and military superpower is because we are going to stop all foreign payments to all these foreign. I said that in those predictions videos. We were going to internalize our economy. Everything I said 4 years ago is coming to pass right now. So this is what it is. It's not going to be Pax Romana. Remember, the United States is founded upon Latin. Our science is Latin based. Our medical establishment is Latin based. Our law books, our judiciary, everything is Latin based. Everything's Latin based. It's not Pax Romana. That was 2,000 years ago. Now it's Pax Americana. And the peace is for the American empire and all its allies. The peace and the seals are not applicable to non-Western nations. The book of Revelation wasn't written for non-Western nations. It is their prophecies. So the American empire and by extension, all its allies are the ones that are about to receive this massive economic social boon, because the empire of Apollo is what literally triggers, you'll see this in the seals, triggers the divine judgment where the world is destroyed. But that's well aware into the future. There's going to be basically a Pax Americana period before that, and that is like a super economy. Yeah, I don't want anybody to, my Archaix veterans know, I don't take modern events, what's going on right now, and try to give you predictions based off them. My predictions are based off calendrical isometrics. I just made my predictions too early. I am not telling you anything now based off anything going on in the field right now. Every bit of this was said 4 years ago. So here we go. The fulfillment of this phase of the Apollyon agenda is to produce physical evidence of fires, knife attacks, and infrastructure attacks that take peace from the earth as a cover. Apocalypse means to remove the cover For the Apollyon scheme of the arrows of Apollo's venom, now spreading the dragon's bile from those who willingly engaged with Apollo Pharmekeai, Archaix's needles, to those who didn't participate but are now being stabbed in sexual contact under the Apollo Helios phase. This is, if I had a drum roll button, I would do it. I don't have one. I don't have anything like that. Because this is what most of you came for. You've heard the first and second seals. You didn't hear all that because a lot of that's new information I got out of these old books, but still, you've heard it. This is what you're here for. The third seal. Oh, I do have something. Hold on. Oh, gotta get it. I gotta get it. Here it is right here. I got this. There we go. I like that. This one don't work unless I put it down. I don't even know who sent that to me. This is this is an antique bell. It's got a really good. I have a silver bell too. One that's solid silver that sounds even better. This one's designed to hang on a string though, so because it just holding it affects the frequency. That's awesome. If this is hanging from a string and hit, it's a whole different sound. It'll change your whole mood. All right. Weird Jason's over with. Let's get to the third seal. Third horseman. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny, and see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. Well, none of you have ever seen this material before because it's never been revealed on my channel. This is some new discoveries. We got a little bit of older stuff in here, but the new material has never been seen. I got to get my coffee prepared for this. I got to get this coffee in here for this. Made a whole pot right before. 1 hour and 41 minutes, making really good time. Third seal is the breaking of the third seal is the third horseman. Man, we're gonna see some ahash. Oh, I don't even want to give it away. And I beheld, I'm going to read it again. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse. And he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. This is one of the most cryptic passages in the entire book of Revelation. And it's amazing. We're going to unpack it because it's not saying what you think it's saying. The surface text is deceptive. The elements of note are black horse, balances, wheat for a penny, 3 measures of barley for a penny, and not hurting the oil and the wine. That's a lot to unpack, but we're going to do it. The only black horses in all of Greek mythology are those of the underworld, belonging to Hades. Wait a minute. You know what? I put bellowing. I was typing too fast. Belonging to Hades, who incidentally is mentioned in the next seal. Hades is actually named in the fourth horseman. Remember, each horseman is following the scheme of the horseman before. So The only black horses in all Greek mythology are those of the underworld belonging to Hades, also called Pluton or Pluto. You know Pluto. Here's the Greek. This title emphasizes his role as a giver of wealth, also called Pyrlartes, the gatekeeper, referring to his control over the entrances to the underworld. Now, we're not going to go too much on a tangent here, but my Archaix veterans, anybody news, I understand anything I'm saying. Remember I told you to pay attention to my 1902 presentations in the past about how everything that we take for granted today in our kitchen appliances was invented or released onto the open market in the year 1902, the last Phoenix year. I've got several presentations, even podcasts with other people where we just itemize all the amazing, weird things that all happened in one single year of our history, 1902, which was on the 138-year Phoenix timeline. Remember in those presentations, I tell you that there's no way to explain this unless all this stuff is coming up from the underworld, from subterranean depositories. All these new editions and new translations of whole books, tens of thousands of new volumes, all these things coming. Remember, all these appliances like air conditioning, it all just appeared in 1902. I've got a long list of 1902 anomalies. So Pluto, the god of the underworld, was the giver of wealth to the surface world. Keep that in mind. The underworld connection is made more profound by the symbol of the balances, which is not Greek, but Egyptian. Anubis was the guardian of the dead. Here it is right here, Pluto, gatekeeper. Anubis was the guardian of the dead. This is the white goddess, Robert Graves, page 316. He led the souls of the dead to the kingdom of Osiris. Anybody wants to know, you can do your own homework on it, but our predecessors linked Apollo and Osiris as being similar deities. So the kingdom of Osiris is amulets and talismans, Sir Wallace Budge, undisputed authority on Egyptian antiquities, page 206. Anubis is often depicted overseeing the weighing of the heart against the feather of Maat in the afterlife, a process that determines the fate of the soul. He is shown in black in Egyptian paintings inside tombs. He was represented as a black jackal. The Egyptians regarded the color black as holy. It was associated to fertility and regeneration in life, connected to the rich black soil of the Nile that gave them life. I didn't put it in the notes, but it's a matter of the historical record that the Greeks originally called the Egyptians the Melampodes. Melampodes is melon and podes. It is the combination of two Greek words that describes black feet. And it's because the Egyptians got black feet from walking in the Egyptian black rich soil of the Nile. I had talked about the Melampodes in the past. The balances were not a Greek symbol, and it is found in ancient fragments preserved in the Old Testament writings in the book of Job 31:6. Let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know my integrity. So here the balance, even in the Old Testament, even in the Jewish scriptures right here, we have the idea that the balances aren't measuring actual food. They're not there to measure food. They're weighing the soul. Here it is. Let me be weighed in an even balance, that God may know mine integrity. Hosea 12:7. He is a merchant. The balances of deceit are in his hand. He loveth to oppress. What's interesting about the book of Revelation is it's talking about this massive worldwide merchant empire, Mystery Babylon, that's selling merchandise by ships going everywhere. At the same time, is that it is selling souls. It's crazy. But the book of Revelation, Mystery Babylon, is identifying. It's a people don't want to hear about the Christian Reich. I'm not even going to talk about it in this video. I've triggered a lot of people because they just don't understand what I'm talking about. But we're going to leave that alone, this Mystery Babylon, in this presentation. The balances of Anubis means for the Egyptians the same as the wheel for the Greeks. Oh, this is amazing. So the rider on the horse with the balances is Anubis, wearing all black, weigher of the souls of men, the determiner of your fate and where you're going when you die. But the Greeks had another version, and it was a female named Nemesis. This female weighed the souls of the dead as well with a wheel. Nemesis is a goddess who holds a wheel in her hand. In late antiquity, this was associated to the turning of the year, but it was generally understood as meaning that the wheel will one day come full circle and vengeance will be exacted on the sinner. I wonder if Robert Jordan got Wheel of Time from Nemesis. This comes from the White Goddess, page 255. Nemesis is the goddess of retribution and divine justice, particularly against those who show arrogance or hubris before the gods. She is often depicted as an enforcer of balance, ensuring that no one escapes their due fate. Wow, it's so quiet in here. I can hear bubbles escaping this thing from the pressure. All right. So by this far, some of you are like, whoa, Jason, you have always showed anytime something's connected and how they overlay into each other, you just threw Nemesis in here. We don't really see a correlation. Be patient, because you will. This following information is what just floored me about the third seal. The ancient author who specifically connected Nemesis and Apollo is Lactantius. In his work, Divine Institutes, Book 1, Chapter 18, Lactantius discusses the relationship between Nemesis and Apollo, noting that Apollo was sometimes called Nemeseus, indicating a connection or identification between the two deities. This makes us want to look at Nemesis a little bit more closely. So Apollo was so connected to the goddess Nemesis, the goddess of revenge on the divine level, that he was actually called Nemeseus as one of his titles. In the Encyclopedia Britannica, under Nemesis, page 331, we learn of temples of the goddess Nemesis and that Alexander the Great had one rebuilt at Smyrna, one of the 7 churches in the beginning of the Revelation text. Nemesis appears as the personification of that righteous indignation which punishes the arrogant and tyrannical abuse of prosperity. Listen, I should do this needs to be capitalized. The reason this is important is because in ancient Greek traditions, Nemesis didn't play a role unless she was to appear to punish somebody for being way too prideful because of immense wealth. That was her job. Revelation chapter 2, pay attention. And unto the angel of the church in Smyrna right. I know the blasphemy of them which say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Fear none of those things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast some of you in prison, that ye may be tried, and ye shall have tribulation 10 days. Be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. The third seal is painting a totally different picture. The first and second seal is a scheme unfolding against the human family. The third seal is literally painting a picture of punishment coming for those who initiated that scheme. And it's identifying here that the perpetrators belong to the synagogue of Satan. And I'm way out here in the country. I'm hearing a lot of sirens today. Big Tank, he's going to sing. Every time he hears them, he's going to sing with them. Oh. Listen, sometimes when my dogs are doing that, I'll run outside if I'm in the barn, or if I'm in the tool barn, or if I'm in the camper over here. I'll run out and join them. I'll go crouch down and hey, look, they all gather around me. And we just all hit that note. We just hit that note together. Yeah, I know some of my neighbors think I'm crazy. All right, let's go. So Nemesis is attached to Smyrna. She's attached to the idea of a body of people having immense wealth and then being punished for how they behaved while they had it. They are identified as the synagogue of Satan. So the angel that is speaking is the tetramorph. I've got videos about the tetramorph. The book of Revelation, St. John is receiving all this voices from the tetramorph, the four animal angels that protect the throne of God. So this is the lion, the eagle, the bull, the man-faced throne of God. The tetramorph is a guardian of the throne, and this shows that it is actually derived from the more ancient griffin. Pay attention. The griffin, a mythical creature with the body, tail, and back legs of a lion and the head, wings, and talons of an eagle, was the symbol consecrated by the Greeks to Apollo and Nemesis. Page 133, A Dictionary of Symbols, J.E. Serlo. This is this book right here, the bottom book right here. I need to show it. It's so important. I got to show it to you. This old book right here. The tetramorph is a Jewish copy of a more ancient symbol, the griffin. The griffin was the symbol for Apollo and Nemesis. You can't make this stuff up. You can only find it in old books. Griffins were often depicted as guardians of treasure, sacred places, or important artifacts in ancient mythologies. So now we get to this part. A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. The word measure here refers to a koinix. It's only 1 letter off from phoenix, but this is koinix. It's the word measure, which was roughly the amount of grain needed to sustain one person for 1 day. A penny, or a denarius, was a Roman coin representing a day's wages for a laborer. This statement suggests, remember, this is the cover. This statement suggests that during the time of this horseman's reign, food would become extremely expensive. A day's wage would barely buy enough wheat for one person's daily sustenance, or 3 times that amount is in less desirable barley. Yeah, barley's not as good as wheat. This reflects severe economic distress or famine, where even basic necessities are out of reach for many. Now, the many that it's talking about is a quarter of the world, meaning 75% of the world is not affected by this dearth. They're actually the victims of it. Barley is the grain of Pentecost, of the Jewish tradition, and the grain of Apollo. The next part of the cryptic passage reveals that something deeper is being conveyed here. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. This part of the verse contrasts with the scarcity of grain. Remember, Nemesis only appears during great prosperity. Remember, this is the imagery of Pluto, the third seal. Pluto is the giver of great wealth. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. This part of the verse contrasts with the scarcity of grain. Olive oil and wine were not staple foods, but were considered luxuries or commodities that could be stored for longer periods than grain. Oil is a symbol of the people, and wine is the gift of Dionysus. In Greek tradition, all Greek traditions hold that Dionysus gave wine to mankind. Dionysus is Apollo. Oil is a symbol for peace, Pax Americana, and prosperity. Sacred, it is used to anoint kings and priests. Signifies purification and divine appointment. Wine is a symbol for spiritual intoxication, enjoyment of life's pleasures. The concept of divine judgment is one of patience. And in the Old Testament, we have the sins of the people represented by an overflowing cup. We read that God would not answer a prayer because the sins of the Amorites are not yet full. There are references in the Old Testament where Israelites prayed, hey, God, would you avenge us? And the answer in the prayer was the sins of the Amorites are not yet full. Meaning, it's a cup. God is looking at a chalice or a cup. And as the wine gets to the top, that civilization is nearing its reset. The cup measures wine. In Revelation, the bowls of God's wrath are poured on the world in the form of judgments. On Judgment Day, we find the whole world is a wine press. This means the third seal is a time of immense wealth in the material, but starvation in the spiritual sense, a spiritual famine. This interpretation holds true because the fourth horseman actually brings a famine, which follows the plenty. The fourth horseman, Hades, the Lord of hell, is actually named, and death follows closely. The fourth horseman is where everything terrible happens. The third horseman is massive wealth and a total exposing and loss of power of those who are members of the synagogue of Satan. The third horseman, or the third seal of the unveiling, is simply this: humanity will enjoy immense prosperity to such a degree that it will try men's souls. The divine will be preparing both judgment winepress as the sins of the Dionysian world fill, and marking those powerful souls who do not succumb to the new society. So that's the whole PDF there. Let me get out of here. This has mainly been a presentation over the first 3 seals and all the background information that you needed for that interpretation. What we have here is that the 4 horsemen are showing a plan that is unfolding. Much of this plan is overlapping, just like the Greek Olympiad calendar that the elite are operating off of, that they're doing these Olympic ceremonies showing us all these key things. For those new to my channel, I have 2 Olympic decode ceremony videos, and they go very deep about what's going on and what's being projected into the field. So what we have here is the Greek Olympiad calendar is every 4 years, 2020, 2024, 2020. I'm going to show you the chart in just a second. 2020, 2024, 2028, 2032, 2036, and then the 6th seal is the return of the Phoenix. We're not going to talk about that here. Why? Because I have over 100 videos about the Phoenix phenomenon. So it's 2040, the month of May, mid-May, is the return of the Phoenix. It is the breaking of the 6th seal. The sun darkens. That means Apollo's time to rule the world his spiritual intoxication has come to an end. There's a full reset, but Apollo after 2046 is actually going to be released from the pit, which unfolds the 7 thunders, the seven trumpets. It's a whole different area of the future. It has nothing to do with anything that's going to happen before 2040. 2040 is still the breaking of the seals. All the seals were designed to do was wake up the human population as to what's going on. That's what the seals are about. This is what Revelation starts with. It says, come and see. Those with eyes to see, let him see. What the Spirit says unto the churches. Then all 7 churches are given these cryptic passages. And I've gone into that. Though to he who overcometh, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. Are you going to be turned into a pillar? That would be a very boring life. No. It's mysteries. It's mystery traditions. A pillar in ancient times, when you walked into a temple, the pillar was covered in divine information that you couldn't read anywhere else. You had to pay the temple fee. You had to go in there. Sometimes you were met a beautiful little girl would meet you right there at the temple and give you an apple. You'd have to take the apple inside the temple, and then there would be sacral prostitutes in honor of the goddess. And you would have to take the apple and go to one of the bed chambers of whatever goddess you chose and give her the apple. And she would take a bite of the apple, and you would take a bite of the apple. And then you would pay a custodian and go into a bed chamber, and you would have carnal relations with that representative of the goddess. And that's how the temples made a lot of their money. Sacral prostitution was a fact of life for hundreds of ancient cities of the world for over 2,000 years. This is what they did. So this is where the Jews got their whole story. This is where all this tradition came from, of the fruit and Eve eating the apple. None of that actually happened. No, this is the language of the mysteries and all this stuff about the Smyrna. You saw the reference to Smyrna, and that archaeologists know that Smyrna had temples dedicated to the goddess Nemesis. And you see the goddess Nemesis, her image was the griffin, which was sacred to only her and Apollo Demeseus. And the griffin, I found this so interesting. This came out in my studies, and I know a bunch of my Tartarian listeners, a bunch of my flat Earth listeners, they're going to know what I'm talking about the griffin. But on the ancient standards of Tartaria, the Tartarian Empire's official sigil was the griffin. You guys know what I'm talking about. This identifies this paleotechnic or this Antiquitech empire of Tartaria that the historical record seems to have erased so much about. It was a Apollo empire, just like the United States. The United States is 100% the servant of Apollo. We know this because the Statue of Liberty has never been a Statue of Liberty. It's always been the statue of Apollo Helios. It's right there. So that's my breakdown of the 3 seals. The 4, we don't really need to go into the 4th seal, because the 4th seal, there's a break in the structuring. You have the four horsemen of the apocalypse, which is also the first seal, second seal, third seal, and fourth seal. Then you have the fifth seal, which nothing happens on earth. It's something that's going on in the world of the spirit. It's a huge break. It's an 8-year period in the Olympiads. So that's an 8-year period of great prosperity. How do we know? Because there are the other eschatological passages that we have that explain that the end comes in like a flood. That is completely surprising. That the civilization that's on earth, when the true tribulation begins, we're not even in the tribulation. We're in the unveiling period. The unveiling period is to wake everybody up and for you to draw the lines, decide who you're going to be. The Great Tribulation period is the judgment, and it's going to last almost 60 years, a 60-year period. But it's a 60-year period where 1/3 of time has been removed. We've got, this is other videos I have in the book of Revelation that literally says 1/3 of the day, 1/3 of the moon, 1/3 of the stars, 1/3 of the day, 1/3 of the night is absolutely removed from the equation. And this makes the dragon angry because he knows his time is short. 60-year period of the tribulation actually becomes 40 years, which is consistent with the Old Testament for the period of trial and testing, 40 years. Now, the fourth horseman isn't necessary in this presentation because it's literally describing all the chaos that unfolds, all the chaos, and that actually begins that actually going to start in different areas of the world. Remember, nothing is so solid as is trying to take a prophetic event and apply it to the whole world. It doesn't work that way. What events do you know of that affected the entire world? None. They affect one area and the rest of us hear about it. It's just like the knifings. The knifings there's thousands of people dead. And there's millions of people horrified. Careful now when they walk out in European cities and walk out in the UK and look around, because you got these other people who aren't native to your country going around stabbing people. So you're going to be more nervous in a way that took peace from the earth. But they're not done taking peace from the earth. So prophecies can be fulfilled all the time, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be fulfilled ubiquitously everywhere. It's not. It's not the way. Even the entire history of the world, when one civilization gave rise to another, the rest of the world was unaffected. When one empire made war against another empire, all the outlying countries were unaffected. Who cares who rules them? Who cares? Let them fight it out. That's the way it happens. So my presentation is pretty much over. I need to show you this chart. I told you I was going to show you this chart. For those of you who haven't seen the chart before, wow, I lost it from myself. That's not it. It's going to be here. Wow. How did I lose that chart? Well, I had a chart, and then I lost the chart. And I don't know what I did with it. There it is. All right. We're going to share the screen again. There's 2020 at the top. 2020, the first seal, Apollo Pharmekeai. There it is right there. 2024, April 8th began the second seal. And when the eclipse of April 8th is when Apollo Pharmekeai became Apollo Helios. Here's 2028, the height of the third seal. It does not mean, you have to understand, the attack of the pharmaceutical companies against the human race may have happened in 2020 and 2021, but it never stopped. They're still doing it. Now, I don't know if they still have that same stuff in there, but they're still doing it because you can still go get that deal. But here it is, 2025. We're 5 years away from 2020, and yet that is still a part of our life. The lockdowns aren't, the travel restrictions aren't, all that's been lifted, just like I said it was. My Archaix veterans know at the height of the lockdowns, height of the restrictions, all these people talking about this is the new norm. I was telling everybody in my predictions videos, no, it's not. Within 18 months, this is going to get lifted. Lockdowns will be lifted. The travel restrictions will be lifted, and there's not going to be there's no legislation that's going to get passed that's going to make them come to your door, kick it in, and then do that to you. Yeah. Nobody was paying attention to me back then. They should now, though. 2020, this continues through the other seals. 2024, this is where we're at. We're only in the first year. It ain't even been a year yet. We're only into the first year of the second seal, the second horseman, taking peace from the earth, knives and little fires everywhere all over the world, which are attacks against infrastructure. This is the second seal. We really haven't seen what's going to happen because it's not really going to ramp up until, probably around the April period. I don't know. But you have to understand, March is the new year in ancient times. So the actual Olympiad year probably doesn't begin until after the vernal equinox. That's when stuff will get really cranked up. Here is 2024. So here's 2025. 2026, 2027, we get to 2028. But that doesn't mean that the effects of 2028 won't happen in 2026 and 2027. They will. The economy is going to get better and better and better and better and better and better. There may come a shock. There may come a single pattern break where there is no economy and everybody panics and all kinds of things happen. It's a short-lived period. And then all of a sudden something is implemented and the economy that replaces it is going to shock everybody. This is basically this is going to be Apollo Demeseus. But Apollo Demeseus is going to begin during Apollo Helios. So we're going to see some massive changes in the world economy. And I'm seeing a shock period, but I'm not seeing anything long and detrimental. I'm seeing the same thing that I saw 4 years ago. And for those new to my channel, I'm not a prophet. I don't see visions. I don't channel. I'm using strict arithmetic using calendars. That's all I'm doing. Calendrical isometrics. Now, let's see. This is the chart. I got it on my website. 2046 seal right here. Yeah, this is it. So the fourth seal is when all hell's breaking out for 25% of the world. Meaning during the fourth seal, after the Agenda 2030 deals all met, 2030 whatever, it's that's really interesting. I didn't even notice that. 2032 is the fourth seal, but 2030 is Agenda 2030 is in the year 2030. That's amazing because that's a Pythian calendar. See, this is the Olympiad, but the Apollonian, the Apollo calendar, the Pythian calendar is actually 2022, 2026, 2030, 2034, 2038, and 2042. That's how the Pythian calendar is. It's every other 2 years. They overlap. Yeah, that's interesting. So that makes the last Pythian year was 2022. The next Pythian year is 2026. The Pythian year after that is 2030. So yeah, there's an overlap. That's the Apollo calendar. But yeah, I'm just rambling now. It's really interesting how all this is developing. But you now have a very clear picture. You have a very clear picture now. The first seal's already happened. We're in the middle of the second seal, and we've already seen a bunch of it happen enough to understand the interpretation is correct. Let me get this. Stop that screen. Cool. The third seal, we already see the third seal developing right now, which is going to be the Western world, a Western economy for the Western world nations. That's going to be like a superpower. And remember, this is not good for the Middle East. What I mean is the United States, the empire of Apollo, stopping all its funding all over the world will create a dearth while also create great wealth here in the United States and in France and in Germany and in England and all these Western descended nations. But that's it. What I do? 2 hours and 18 minutes. I'm getting good. I thought this was going to be over 3 hours. Yeah, I'm done, guys. That's it. I know I need to get my dogs out that barn too. But yeah, the Griffin, finding the Griffin stuff just blew my mind. And give me about 10, 20 minutes, and I will upload this PDF to Podia and provide a link in the community section. I'll do a post so you can just click onto the link and go download for free this entire presentation, all this entire data set, all the source materials, everything for this presentation. You can have it for free. Just give me about 20 minutes. Thank you, watcher. But I want you guys to have this for free, to be able to share it, put it on your social media. I'm trying to think, should I upload it? I wonder if I can upload it as a Microsoft Word document so you can copy and paste stuff in your social media. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. Or maybe you can copy and paste stuff from a PDF. I don't know. I have software that allows me to do that. I don't know if you can do that. Everybody can do that. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I appreciate your donations. It always helps out. Like I said, I'm clearing debt, guys. I'm not going to be that guy. I can't deal with debt. That's why I slowed down everything in my life, all my expenses, everything, because I'm just clearing out. I'm getting it out of my field. I was very happy. I was very happy guy when I was only doing things that I could afford. And yeah, I can already see that whole credit card stuff. Yeah, I don't have a credit card no more, guys. I'm back to debit cards. Yeah, I'm back to expense account. I'm not doing that no more. I don't like it. I don't like how it makes me feel. I don't like the power over my life that a credit card has. I'm not dealing with that anymore. All right. Yeah, man. Give me about 20 minutes and I'm going to upload that deal. And right now, I'm going to hit this amazing outro. I think our next live is either going to be a podcast or a Q&A. One of them, podcast or Q&A. Q&A is coming, but I don't know. I got 2 or 3 interesting lineups. I got an old friend of mine, David Morgan. He used to do the Morgan Report. David Morgan's been listening to my channel for a few years now. He's even sent me some silver. He sent me his book. I'm going to show you his book. It's right here on my shelf. I got the silver markets of David Morgan right here. So he's going to come. We're going to talk about silver market, the history of the silver market, and the present economy and what the potentials are. This is David Morgan. I got to answer his email too. Got some other people that I want to bring onto my channel and talk to also. Oh, I sent an invitation to Mr. Reese to come onto my channel as well. He's to actually just grill me with a bunch of questions is what I asked him to do. But all right, I'm rambling. I need to find my outro. Love you guys.